everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio. Today I'm going to share with you one of my 100 days projects 5x7 mixed media canvas on a canvas panel. How I made it, how you can use a pre-done die cut. I received a die cut from my friend Peg in the Happy Mail, and it is from Art by Marlene, which she has a line of pre-drawn, pre-colored die cuts, and you can absolutely use these. There's no reason you can't. And in fact, it makes everything a lot quicker, super fast. But before I add that, I'm making my regular background. And the papers that I'm using today are from Art Joy of Sharing Art Community. Over in the art community on Facebook, we're doing a month-long, I guess it's a challenge, but it's also a collaboration where people have shared backgrounds that they've made in digital format. You can download them, print them, and then use them to make something, your own art, and share it in the group. So that's what we're doing all month. And I had printed out a few pieces to use. This is actually during the Art Joy Sharing live stream last Thursday. And I printed out some pieces because all month long we're doing this collaboration with the digital backgrounds, and I'd printed them out already and used them on a different project, and I still had some left over, so I was continuing to use them. You can go over and watch the real-time recorded live stream on the other channel, and I'll put the link below the video for you to do that if you'd like to see what happened. And it was one of those days last Thursday where things just didn't go exactly as planned, and I ended up using some material that was really going to take a long time to dry. And on a live stream, you can't do that. You've got to use stuff that's going to move quickly so you can move on. So I had to set aside what I was working on and do this one instead. So this background is beautiful. It has kind of like this swirly thing on it, and I wanted to use the whole thing. Well, as much of it as I could on my little 5x7. So when you're using a whole piece of collage material to cover the entire background, it's a little bit tricky. So the things that I did to make it work, one thing, I use a thick glue that doesn't have a lot of water in it, and that's, for me, the Liquitex matte gel medium is the one that I prefer. And I put it on the canvas, like a thin layer, a thin-ish layer, not a bunch of blobs, but a smoothed out layer onto the canvas with a wide, flat, stiff brush. Then I turned over the paper, and it's a laser printed paper, so it's just on regular paper from the printer, and I spread that same layer on the back of this big piece. Then I just gave it a little bit of spritz of water, not a lot, just like, about that, with a fine mister, and that helps the fibers in the paper kind of become more malleable so that you can work with them longer before they stiffen up. Then I lined everything up, and then I took that same stiff brush and I went over the top. It's made by Ranger for Tim Holtz. It's called a Distress Collage brush. Works out really well. And then I also have a baby wipe, and after I've gone over the top of that entire piece with a layer of what's left on the brush of the matte medium, then I just go over and I kind of press down and make sure there's just really no bubbles, really investigate with this baby wipe to make sure that everything is smoothed out. There's no creases, there's no bubbles. And then I just let the edges fold over around the sides of the canvas, and that's how I get that whole background done. Then I had another piece that I'd printed out that had these interesting shapes on it, and they remind me, I think, of eucalyptus branch. Eucalyptus branch is a very unique looking stuff, but it was purple. Some of them had dots on them, and I just decided I wanted to use those shapes. So I cut them out from that other piece of paper that I had printed. And again, these are the laser printed backgrounds from our collaboration over in Art Joy of Sharing Art community on Facebook. And I glued those down and kind of tried to honor that swirly bit in the middle of the paper. So kind of curving them around it a little bit. But still, you got to have balance. So I did end up adding this other little one that kind of pierces through it. But it's, it is what it is. You need to have balance. As you're adding layers, you're thinking about composition, you're thinking about balance, um, to make sure that everything doesn't go too completely wonky. So then the next thing I did is I took some Faber-Castell Pit Artist pens. These are a marker, but the ink inside of the marker is India ink. And India ink, when dry, is permanent. So it's a really great thing to use in mixed media because you don't have to worry about it moving when you're putting on your next wet layer. It just stays there. So I used a blue and I used a purple, and then I also used my water brush, which has water inside the barrel and then a brush on the end to blend. If you've got the sealed surface, you remember I put all that matte medium on there and I dried it with my heat tool. You've got a few seconds in which you can blend this type of ink before it's dry. Once it's dry, forget about it. It's not blending anymore. But you got a few seconds. So I blended with my water tank brush, which keeps the brush wet all the time. So that's how I did it. I went around the edges of the shapes. And what is the purpose of that? Do you guys know why I do that? It's because I want every layer of collage that I'm gluing on top. Remember, this is another layer. It's got dimension to it. Even if it's flat, it's got dimension to it, and I want them all to blend in to each other. I don't want it to look like I just slapped something on there and glued it down, and that was it. So that's actually what this video is about today. This isn't about, some amazing thing that I drew or colored or a character that I made or something like that, because I'm going to use someone else's art on the top of it. So I want you guys to think about doing this shading, going around things and blending them into the background so that they don't appear like a sticker or something that's just, stuck and glued on there and done. I see so much mixed media art, all kinds of people on YouTube and everywhere else that don't blend in their pieces when they're doing collage or mixed media. They don't blend in each piece, and it just, someone cuts out a piece of magazine and they glue it down and that's it. They don't think about the edges that are now hard against this background and they don't blend in. So that's the reason that I have all kinds of markers and crayons and things, because I like to blend things together. So to make this background a little bit more interesting, I decided to use a little bit of stenciling, and I'm thinking about circles, I'm thinking about mark making shapes, and rather than doing it by hand, I used stencils. Both of these stencils are from Stencil Girl Products, my favorite stencil company. They have the best designs, and they also have the best people that design for them, and the company treats them so well. They treat their designers so well, who are all artists and know what kind of stuff an artist would like for stencils. So it's my favorite. So I used a couple different stencils to make some marks. I used some green. I had on the paper, there was a little bit of green, the original paper that I put, but it was only up at the top, and I wanted that green to be around through the whole composition. So I used the green little dash marks through the stencil to put it around in different places. And then I highlighted the purpley lavender colors by using a lavender with the dots. So then I had all my background done and I was like, what should I put on here as a focal image? And I had this little piece already pre-done, punched out. It's kind of a cardstock, and it's from Art by Marlene. She's a designer, and it's something that came in a pack of some sort. It was given to me by a friend, Peg, so I don't know exactly what it came in, but I I can guess that it was a sheet and it had little punch out pieces that you could punch out. So this thing's already done, right? It's done. But I still want to make it my own, to make it blend into my canvas. I don't just want to slap it on there, glue it down, and say, done, because it's not. I mean, it is, but it's not. I know I'm confusing you now. But I went ahead and glued it down, same method with my Liquitex matte gel medium, putting it on both sides, smearing it down with over the top with some more medium and giving it a good dry. And then starts the manipulation where I'm putting my hand onto this and making it my own. So I started with a Stabilo All pencil, which is a highly water reactive, some type of pencil with, lead that's not lead. And this is the black one. I went around all the edges of the piece and then I blended with that water and made that black shadow blend into the background with water. Did that all the way around the glued on piece. And that's the first step. That's making a shadow that makes it appear as if that piece is part of the background. Of course, if you hold it up to the light and you turn it to the side, you'll be able to see these different stacked papers on top there. That's part of collage. That's the way it is. But that doesn't mean that it has to look separate. If you do enough manipulation, it won't look separate at all. So I also added a little bit of that black around a few of the circles that I had made in the background to give cohesion. I've got black around this piece in the center, but no black in the rest of the piece, right? So you got to make sure that each color is distributed well throughout the composition. So those become what I consider water bubbles, even though they're lavender. I'm now giving them a little bit more form. And so I've decided that that's seaweed and bubbles, and I've got my little seahorse. So now it's become a ocean scene. Next step, this has places in the printing where I know that Marlene from Art by Marlene used a white marker or a gel pen to do it. I know she did. This is the way she colored it would have been watercolor with some pen work. And it looks white, but look what a difference it makes when I put my white on there. Because even though those white marks were already there and I'm imitating them or duplicating them in some cases, it makes a huge difference when I add my own white. So that's the next thing to do, is to add highlight with some type of a light color. It doesn't have to be white, it could be, something else. But what I used for that was my fine tip white Posca pen. It is an acrylic paint pen, and that white inside of it, the acrylic ink, is very opaque. So when you write something over, it's, you see the white. It's not going to blend into the background. Then I did some of that same type of thing with my black fine tip Posca pen and just highlighted, low lighted if you want to get technical, some of those other lines that are black, but yet the printing process actually made them turn into a dark gray color. So making them more, giving them a little bit more punch. This piece is really cute. This is something that I could see myself drawing. This style of whimsical animal is right up my alley. That's something I would make, but I didn't in this case. And it just made it so much more quick to finish this piece on the live stream. This actually isn't even sped up as fast as I normally do for my videos. So some of it is only 2 times fast instead of 4 times fast. Yet it still fits in 20 minutes. So you can see that this was quick for me. So I added some more white Posca pen highlights on my little bubbles, just on one side, and then I blended it with my finger a little bit. I added some white splatters, and I decided eventually that I needed to get out a couple other colors of Posca pen. At this point, it kind of looked done, but I wasn't done. I wasn't finished. In fact, the live stream might have been ending right here. And then I went and added some more after that. So the next thing was some gel color. I decided to pump up the color of what would have been watercolor before it was printed, and just make it a little bit brighter. So I'm using these gel sticks by King Art. They're a soft pigment, and I can just write it on there and then blend it with my finger. It's very soft and malleable stuff. Not very waxy, kind of like lipstick, really. It reminds me of lipstick. It even dials up the same way as lipstick. And I used some lavender, some bright pink, and some purple, same colors that were there already, just making them a little bit more something, something, you know, giving them a little bit more punch. I'm not going to say that other P word, people. I know you're looking for it, but I'm not going to. I hope you guys are enjoying this video and this series. If you are, please remember to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, why not? You guys can hit that subscribe button there in the corner, and you can also turn on your notification bells so that you know when there's a new video and you don't miss anything. I make videos pretty frequently, so it's a good thing to have. Also, you can share this. You can leave me a comment or question. All those things help the YouTube magical, mystical algorithm find my channel and recommend it to other people, so I always appreciate it. So I did end up adding some lavender to the background, and then also some of this light turquoise a little bit, just making it more vibrant. And the strangest thing happened with the photos that I was taking of this piece. When I took the photos inside, it turned everything really red and just not the color that it was. So I ended up taking it outside and photographing it, and it was really a lot more realistic to what the piece looks like. So, you know, sometimes you got to think about your lighting and how it reflects off the colors that you have on your piece when you're taking your photos. I don't mind going outside and taking photos. I just usually it makes the colors way too washed out and pale because the sun in Arizona is so bright. But in this case, it really shone off the realistic colors on there and made the picture so much better. So you may have seen a picture of this one on day 75, which was last Thursday, because this is part of my 100 days project, and it looked a lot different probably. It didn't look the colors that it is. And there will be some colors coming up. I mean pictures coming up at the end, and some close-ups and things. So I did get out another couple Posca pens. I got a turquoise color and also a pink color to color in the little flowers and leaves and things that were drawn onto the seahorse, and did a little bit with that, maybe some splatters as well. So that's it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.